let me tell you.
And you're going to have men that are controlling and physically violent, and you're going to have men that are controlling, and physically and sexually violent. And there's a way that that is linked to a sense of entitlement. This is, this is me as a man, and I can do this.
So these ideas about biology are dangerous, ultimately, because they say that's just the way it is. We can't change it. So if there's male violence against women, well, it's too bad. It's unfortunate, but it's natural.
A masculinidade depende muito mais de ser construída que a feminilidade. Eu te diria, parodiando a Simone de Beauvoir, não que nós sejamos naturais, mas o processo de aquisição de status de homem, ele é muito mais elaborado, demanda muito mais dos homens do que o status feminino.
In some settings that we study, you have the vast majority of men and women believe that it's actually appropriate for men to discipline women if they disobey, if they do something that displeases them.
For a long time, I think in Western societies that came out of Europe, the idea that women were closer to nature and didn't control themselves as much. Men were the ones in control of their bodies and all this kind of thing. It was very popular. And Simone de Beauvoir came along and said, this is wrong. It's not that a woman's body is not important, but that doesn't mean anything necessarily in terms of what women are capable of or not, or what men can do and what they can't in terms of social relationships. But to me, what's curious is that we can say that about women today more easily. And oddly enough, I think more and more people look at men and they say they're governed, they're controlled by their bodies. And you know what men are like. And it's a joke, but it's not entirely a joke. People are also serious that men want to have sex all the time with everybody, with any woman they can. Whereas women are very choosy. And so women say, no, 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 and that this is somehow biological, it's not social. And they look at other animals. But we study other animals very selectively. So one of the things that biologists have been talking about in the last 20 years are other animals in which the females pursue the males, in which the females have sex all the time, with each other, with males, with all sorts of... And somehow those are not the examples that have been popularized. And I think the reason is because these animal societies like the chimpanzees, where the males are in control, where they fight a lot, people say, oh, that's just like human society. And it naturalizes who we are and why we do what we do.
O que acontece em termos de masculinidade hegemônica no Brasil é a figura do predador sexual, no sentido de ser um homem que tem valentia, força física, associada à capacidade de prover o sustento da casa, mas fundamentalmente, sobretudo entre os jovens, o acesso a uma masculinidade plena se dá através da iniciação sexual com uma mulher. Para ele ser um homem heterossexual, portanto, partícipe dessa figura de masculinidade hegemônica, Porque, na verdade, outros estilos de masculinidade são subalternizados em relação a esse modelo.
Some people say rape is natural, that all men have some desire to rape. I don't think so. But for people who say that, they say, well, it's not good, but it's natural. And there are biologists who argue that other animal species you can find rape, but I don't think it's the same thing when a male duck, a pato, rapes a female duck. I don't think it's rape. It's sexual assault or whatever you want to call it, but rape is a social relationship. It's not mainly sexual. It's mainly for males to control females.
Então, esse modelo, que é um modelo muito ligado à ideia de uma honra masculina que tem a ver com desempenho sexual, mas também com a função de provedor, etc. Tal, aparece de maneira muito forte na violência contra a mulher, porque uma mulher desiste daquele homem, a honra dele está manchada. Ele não, são os casos mais clássicos de pancadaria na família ou eventualmente assassinato, porque de fato há uma estrutura, digamos assim, um desenvolvimento da estrutura psíquica masculina, nesse caso, do ponto de vista cultural, não estou falando de indivíduos em particulares, está pouco preparada para receber a rejeição feminina. É ele que pode rejeitar.
And it's one of the, in good perpetrator programs, one of the first challenges to violent men is to what extent are you doing this because you can? Because men will inevitably go, I hit her because I was angry, because she upset me. It's her fault, she upset me. If she didn't behave in that way, if she didn't dress that way, etc. And then when you start to unpack it with them and go, well, you know, what has you think that you actually are entitled to dictate the way that she dresses? What has you think that she should cook for you? And if she doesn't cook for you, then you're going to have a sulk and then you're going to hate her. It's almost impossible to de-link what he understands being a man to be and the rights that that gives him from what he then does in terms of his actual behavior and his attitudes.
I think we have to understand that we are animals, we are we have biological bodies, but that we're not controlled by it. And that we have to understand the roots of male violence has more to do with power relationships and men trying to impose control over women in various societies.
One of the things that's clear is that we learn about gender and gendered expectations very young. You know, a 4 and a 5-year-old easily already makes rules, knows the cultural rules around what it is to be a boy or what it is to be a girl. And if you look at data of young adolescent boys and young adolescent girls in these settings where violence is normative, they already have this idea by the time they're 11, 12 years old. So now there's been a whole discussion about, in addition to empowering women, we need to work with men and boys. But most of those programs are working with men that are men, and the boys that they're working with are late adolescents. And so I think that we need to think younger because these ideas are formulated much younger.
And some of that involves challenging ideas about masculinity. What does it mean to be a man? You know, what is gender? You know, why are we invested in one set of attitudes? What are some of the things that we know about what girls are supposed to be like or what boys are supposed to be like? And it's quite a lot of the work that's done with young men follows a similar way of thinking about it. How you disrupt the normal gender narrative and how you actually support young men to reconstruct something that is giving them permission also to be something else, as well as challenging their sexism. Because boys are being taught these sexist attitudes at a really early age. So it's not just all warm and cuddly. It's also saying actually what you're saying isn't okay, and being courageous enough to do that with young men, and recognizing the space of their vulnerability as well as the space of their privilege and power, and challenging that power with them, and supporting them to do that with each other, you know?
Cause I'm the tax man. Yes, I'm the tax man. That man is rough.